10 years of devotion turned into a ghost story. Julian Shen is marrying another woman, swearing we're strangers. Beside me, my fiancé smiles, his tenderness masking something deadly. Everyone says I'm insane, but my heart remembers the warmth he now denies. In a world where my truth is a sin and my past is a crime, I'm the only witness to a love that never existed, until I prove it did. Chapter 1. I had loved Julian Shen for 10 years. Then one day I woke up, and everyone looked at me like I'd lost my mind. They said I'd never had anything to do with Julian Shen. And my fiancé was someone else. Miss, General Shen is getting married today. Master and Madam are waiting in the front hall. They want you to go with them. At dusk, the sunset slanted through the lattice window, catching the faint scar on my wrist. I sat before the mirror in a trance and quietly pinned a jeweled hairpiece into my hair. The woman reflected back was beautiful, but her face was paper pale, like someone with one foot already in the grave. A few months ago, I'd fallen off a cliff. When I woke up, my health began to fail a little more each day. And it wasn't just my body. What tore me apart was worse. Who's the bride? The maid outside hesitated, then answered softly. The second young lady of the Liu family, Luna Liu. I slumped against the window and let out a weak, bitter laugh. And where did this second Miss Liu come from? Julian Shen, cough, cough. If I truly had amnesia, fine, but everything between Julian Shen and me was carved into my mind, clear as day. Yet to everyone else, it had turned to smoke. Only I remembered, and the deeper my feelings had been back then, the more they shredded me now. Did he ever mention me? The maid hesitated. No, he only said Baimenner is invited to the wedding banquet. Fine, I understand. In the mirror, my lips were painted a vivid red. I stood. My fiancé was going to marry someone else. An hour later, in the main hall of the Shen residence, I held a dagger to my throat in front of a hall packed with guests, my voice shaking. Julian Shen, if you dare marry her, I'll die right here in front of the Shen residence today. Julian Shen stood at the center of it all, his gaze deep and still. Years of hardship had tempered him. The spirited boy had turned inward, like a blade kept sheathed, like strong liquor. The longer it aged, the richer it became. He stood tall and commanding. Once beside him, that shoulder had been my surest refuge. Now he used it to shield Luna Liu. Panic swept the hall. No one dared step forward. Whispers rippled through the crowd. They say she's the woman who's been clinging to General Shen. She fell off a cliff and hurt her head. Now she imagines she's his fiancé and insists on breaking them up. This is the third time this month. Julian Shen held Luna Liu close and watched me with cold eyes. Vivian Bai, once is once, twice is twice. Don't make it 3. It felt like my heart was being carved open. I laughed until my vision swam with tears. When I first met Julian Shen, he was still young, 17 or 18, riding hard down Main Street. The first time I blocked his horse, he looked at me with icy contempt and asked, "Trying to get yourself killed?" The second time, he yanked the reins, frost still clinging to him. "Are you blind?" The third time, at last, there was the faintest hint of a smile in his eyes. Vivian Bai, once is once, twice is twice. Don't make it 3. Get on. I reached for his hand, and I held on for 10 years. I once had all his favor, his tenderness, his indulgence. Vivian Bai, proud to the bone, was spoiled rotten by him. That night, the autumn moon hung high. Julian Shen's fingers sifted through my hair as he said, "Vivi, marry me. I've waited too long. The general's residence will recognize only one mistress, you." Then came an autumn rain. Then an accident. I slipped and fell from a cliff. When I woke up, everything had changed. When I spoke of the past, they looked at me like I was some kind of monster. All they said was this: the one devoted to General Shen was the second miss of the Liu family. He had never had anything to do with the Bai family. Everyone believed I'd hurt my head and gotten my memories tangled. Only I knew how sharp and certain my memories of Julian Shen were. They couldn't be wrong. Through my illness, I waited and waited. Then one day, someone came to my bedside. A refined young gentleman dressed in white, gentle as jade, like a bright moon at the edge of the sky. He looked as though he'd just returned from court. Dew still clung to him, and his dark hair had dampened his robe. He bent close and lightly hooked my finger with his. His eyes were full of tenderness and pain. "Vivi, you have to get better." Looking at him, the chaos in my chest slowly stilled. Mother said his name was Adrian Liu. the elder brother of Julian Shen's fiancé, the second miss of the Liu family. And he was my fiancé. I pushed him away and turned over. Adrian Liu sighed. If you want to see him, I'll go with you. That day, I heard the maids in the outer room, their words sharp with meaning. Mr. Liu has been busy investigating Mrs. Fall from the cliff. He's had his days and nights reversed, and he hasn't eaten a thing. He just got back and came straight to see her. In the end, he's the one who gets hurt. Curled up in the room, I cried until I couldn't breathe. What could I do? I didn't remember anything, just like Julian Shen. He didn't remember me either. Tonight, candlelight blazed, and at his side stood Luna Liu. Bright, lovely. I was so jealous I could barely stand it. As I laughed, a sudden metallic sweetness surged up my throat. Blood sprayed across my blue-green silk skirt. My body went slack like a bird losing lift, and I pitched forward. At the last moment, someone caught me. His voice broke with naked heartbreak. Vivi, it doesn't have to come to this. Joy flared inside me. I murmured, Julian, you finally admit it's me. But when I looked up in the blinding light, it was another face. He frowned, yet they weren't Julian Shen's sharp brows, not Julian Shen's dark, heavy eyes. His lips were pale, their lines soft. His eyes were like green ripples in late autumn, scattered with light, moon beautiful, lonely, pure. Adrian Liu's eyes brimmed with anguish. His face had gone white. His snow-white sleeve was stained with blood, and still he didn't flinch. He braced me with his forearm, gentle but unshakable. Vivi, I'm taking you home. Home. I forced myself to lift my head, looked toward Julian Shen's calm, water-still eyes, and smiled bitterly. Where is my home? Julian Shen said nothing. He didn't even respond to Luna Liu's tearful complaints. He just stood there, silent. He truly didn't know me anymore. That boy who smiled at me, who reached out his hand, who said recklessly, "Get on." He didn't know me anymore. Collapsed against Adrian Liu's shoulder, pain strangled me until there was only numbness. I breathed in, slow and thin. Please, take me home. In my entire life, Vivian Bai, had never been so miserable. On the way back, neither of us spoke. I kept my eyes closed and leaned against the cushion, drained of all strength. One sentence echoed in my mind, over and over. Julian Shen is going to marry someone else. Adrian Liu fetched medicine and carefully cleaned the wound at my neck. Vivi, sleep well tonight. Tomorrow I'll take you to Pinecone Mountain to clear your head. I opened my eyes and lightly gripped the edge of his sleeve. I forgot you. Does that hurt you too? His hand stilled. After a long moment, his voice turned hoarse. Yes, it hurts me too. I'm sorry. Tears slid slowly from the corners of my eyes. I don't know what went wrong. I don't want you to hurt, but I can barely keep myself alive. Adrian Liu pulled me closer. Vivi, you're just sick. Do you still remember how I folded 1,000 paper cranes for you? At his words, I reached into the past. My memories were like letters sealed in an old chest. Once someone spoke of them, they rose up vivid and clear. In the dark, I whispered, I remember. On my 15th birthday, you gave me so many paper cranes. Yes, later you came to my home and argued with Luna over a bowl of sweet soup. You dumped the bowl over her head. Warmth gathered in my chest. My heart felt lighter. Right. For a long time, I hated Luna. When you got back, I complained first and made her cry. That day, he'd scolded Luna instead. Don't bully Vivi. She's your sister-in-law. The carriage jolted over a ridge. I lurched forward. Adrian Liu caught me and held me tighter, as if he wanted to press me into his bones. It's fine. Take your time. Remember, at your own pace, I can wait. As long as our Vivi is well, there's nothing I fear. My thoughts were a knot. Exhausted, I nodded and fell asleep. In my dream, it was Julian Shen's face. Rain pattered outside the window. He held me as we slept. Our breaths tangled. Heat rose. He pressed me down onto the bed and loosened my clothes. Vivi? Julian Shen's voice was low, rough. Vivi. Two voices overlapped and I jolted awake. In the dark, Adrian Liu was holding me. Vivi, we're home. You were dreaming. You're drenched in sweat. I gave a faint hum. What did you dream about? It was too shameful to say. That rough, scorching touch seemed to linger on my skin. My face burned and I denied it at once. Nothing. Adrian Liu and I stepped out of the carriage. One look, and I froze. He had brought me back to the Liu residence. Adrian Liu explained, your aunt was frightened tonight and fell ill. The Bai family is busy calling for a doctor. There's no one to look after you. I stared blankly at the horse by the gate. What are you looking at? Adrian Liu came over and took my hand. I pointed. I've seen it before. Julian Shen had once sat on that horse and reached his hand out to me. A servant nearby laughed. Of course Miss Bai has seen it. You stopped our master in the street 3 times. Our master was riding this horse each time. Calling it a token of love wouldn't be wrong. I felt unmoored. I had stopped a horse, yes, but the rider had been Julian Shen. General Shen. The words slipped out before I could stop them. The servant's smile vanished. His face hardened. So Miss Bai is going to steal even this memory and pin it on General Shen too? Adrian Lu frowned sharply. Theo Lu. The servant Theo Lu flushed with anger. Everything else fine. Back then, when our master entered the capital, Miss Bai kept stopping his horse again and again. Our master fell for her, and from then on he changed like a different person, doing whatever she said. Now she wakes up and suddenly falls for someone else. What is that supposed to mean? If you won't feel wronged, I'll feel wronged for you. Just because Julian Shen is a general, he gets to ride a horse? Our master gave up horses for Miss Bai. Is he supposed to just watch her bitterly from the side? Faced with the accusation, I didn't know what to say. I'm sorry. Ever since I woke up, apologizing had become my default. They said I was hysterical. They said I wasn't right in the head. My parents' heartbreak, the disappointment Adrian Lu tried to hide, Julian Shen's near indifference. Together, they became a knife lodged in my heart. I struggled through a swamp of pain, drowning in guilt, never knowing a single peaceful day. I looked up, bewildered, and met Adrian Lu's eyes, slightly damp. You can ride too? A flicker of pain crossed his face. You stopped me 3 times. The 3rd time, I took you riding. You were terrified. After that, I never rode again. My thoughts turned slowly, memories returning piece by piece. Though he was a civil official, when the emperor was in danger at the royal hunting grounds, it was Adrian Lu who saved him. He could ride. His martial skills were strong too. In my mind, Julian Shen's face began to blur. In its place was Adrian Lu in white, seated on a horse. The first time he'd been cool and rode past. The second time his handsome brows knit as he warned me sternly, "Miss, don't treat your life like a joke." The 3rd time he reached out his hand too and sighed, helpless. "Get on, I'll take you home." But I'd cried on horseback that day. Adrian Lu had come to my home and bowed to my parents, swearing, "Since Vivi dislikes me riding hard, I, Adrian, will never touch a horse again." My heart clenched with sudden pain. It had been Adrian Lu all along. It was me. I had remembered wrong. I hugged him back. "I'm sorry, Adrian. I'm sick." Day by day, my condition improved. Julian Shen began to feel like a yellowed page buried deep in the past, left to gather dust. I stood high on the steps and watched Julian Shen step down from a carriage. He wore black, his belt drawn tight. He looked bold, bright, unyielding. Now I took 1 dose in the morning and 1 at night. My emotions were steadier. Seeing them together no longer hurt to watch. Luna Lu followed close behind him and called, "Husband." When Julian Shen turned, she held out her hand. He seemed not to expect it. He froze, then stood there a long moment. Slowly his expression softened. He took her hand to help her down, then lifted her into his arms. Without noticing, autumn winds had risen and the air had turned cool. By the wall, crabapple blossoms were in full bloom, clustered in strings. The maid said that a few months ago, when Adrian Lu planted it with his own hands, it had been half dead. Lately, as I recovered, even the flowers seemed to revive. They said it meant Adrian Lu and I would live in harmony. I smiled faintly. Crabapple blossoms are too tragic. I don't like them. The maid didn't understand. She shook out a cloak and draped it over my shoulders. "Miss Bai, it's cold. The young master told us to make sure you wear more." It was red fox fur, warm against my skin. I didn't move. I slowly stroked the soft fur. When Julian Shen turned, he saw me. From this distance, it was only 1 glance, yet my hand clenched hard. For the briefest instant, he paused. It was a tiny, unconscious thing, but it set off a storm inside me. He knows me. My heart slammed against my ribs. The maid looked at me, puzzled, then followed my gaze. "General Shen? Miss Bai is Lady Shen's future sister-in-law. You'll be family. Of course he should know you." She didn't understand. That faint wrongness, only I felt it. If I wasn't already sick beyond measure, then something else had to be going on. "Vivi, how long have you been standing here?" Adrian Lu's voice came from behind me, a little hoarse. That strange sense of wrongness surged back the moment he appeared. When I turned, I already wore a bright smile. You're back early. Why did you come in through the back gate? Adrian Lu looked travel-worn. He paused. Were you waiting for me? There's hot soup on the stove. Luna and the others must have eaten when they came, but you haven't. I spoke with my head lowered. When he didn't answer, I looked up and saw a glimmer of moisture in Adrian Lu's eyes. Vivi, I'm happy you can remember me. I smiled a little. I've been standing in the wind. I'm cold all over. Adrian Lu took my hand and warmed it in his palm for a moment. If you're tired, you don't have to go to the front hall. I haven't seen Luna in a long time. He understood and didn't argue. I followed Adrian Lu to the front hall. It had rained yesterday and the air was still damp. Luna Lu's light voice drifted out. These are the roses I planted before I got married. In a few days I'll pick them and make flower jam. Add a little honey. It'll be delicious. Luna, Adrian Lu called. Both Luna Lu and Julian Shen turned. Luna Lu was small, only reaching Julian Shen's shoulder. Standing together, they looked perfectly matched. When she saw me, her expression turned slightly awkward. Sister-in-law, are you feeling better? I smiled, not looking away. Much better. Adrian Lu's gaze never left me. There was a faint smile on his lips. Vivi, I'm a little hungry. I paused. All right, then we'll go back to the room first. Have some hot soup to tide you over. I'm exhausted. I can't walk. Adrian Lu rarely acted petulant. Luna Lu covered her mouth and giggled. My brother and sister-in-law are so close, I'm relieved. In front of Julian Shen and Luna Lu, Adrian Lu claimed an entire bowl of hot soup for himself. He cooled it slowly with a spoon, then brought the first sip to my lips. It's not hot. Try it. I felt awkward, but under Adrian Lu's stubborn gaze, I still opened my mouth and swallowed. Adrian Lu's eyes darkened. He gently wiped my lips with his thumb, his voice soft. Look at you. You even got it on your mouth. Since Luna Lu was visiting her family after marriage, she and Julian Shen naturally ate here. After a few polite exchanges, Adrian Lu and Julian Shen sat together and spoke about court affairs. I sat with Luna Lu. She seemed frightened, weighing every word. I smiled and took her hand. My memory isn't very good. I wronged you a few days ago. This is a small token from me to congratulate you and General Shen on your wedding. From the Bai family's properties, I transferred a few shops to her. Luna Lu refused again and again. Sister-in-law, I can't take something from you. I pressed my hand over hers, steady and firm. I never take back what I give. I've heard Miss Bai is decisive. Seeing you today, it's true enough. Julian Shen's voice was low and unreadable as he looked over from across the table. For a moment, I couldn't tell what he meant. Husband. Luna Lu hesitated. Julian Shen spoke casually. If she's giving it to you, take it. Don't waste her kindness. His tone was sharp, as if he were standing up for Luna Lu because I'd bullied her. If you wouldn't recognize me, so be it. I'd been weak when I was ill, easy to push around, but my nature had never been gentle. So I looked back at him coldly across the table, tension rising like drawn blades. Vivi, if you're tired, I'll take you back, Adrian Lu said, breaking the stalemate at just the right moment. I stood up too quickly and swayed before I caught myself. Before leaving, I smiled at Luna Lu. The kitchen has water chestnut soup simmering today too. Consider it my apology. Luna Lu pressed her lips together and smiled shyly. That was ages ago. Sister-in-law, please don't mention it again. What was it? Julian Shen cut in. Luna Lu said, back then, when sister-in-law visited the manor, we argued over a bowl of water chestnut soup. My smile slowly faded. Under my sleeve, my fingers dug hard into my palm. When I turned and met Adrian Lu's gentle, intent gaze, my heart sank. I lowered my head and walked past him. We didn't speak on the way. Adrian Lu stayed at my side the whole time. Near my door, I stopped. I'm here. Hurry back. You don't trust me. Adrian Lu's calm voice cut me off. Just now, you were testing whether what Luna said about that old incident was true. I held my breath, my back to him, and answered with silence. Vivi, what are you so afraid of? His voice trembled. From behind, he slowly wrapped his arms around me. Afraid I used sorcery on you? I closed my eyes. There were rumors of a kind of illusion from the West. With a few words, it could swap a person's memories. Adrian Lu yanked me into the room and pinned me against the door, his hand braced behind my head. His eyes were bloodshot. His face was a sickly pale. Only then did I realize he'd been running himself ragged for days without proper rest. Vivian Bai, do you have a heart at all? If I used sorcery on you, He drew in a sharp breath. Tears slid down his face. If I used sorcery on you, if I'd bewitched everyone in the world, I would have bled my heart dry long ago. Why would I still be standing here with you? My breathing grew softer, softer. Right now, Adrian Liu was frighteningly fragile. I recognized that look. When someone is hurt past endurance, the hopelessness in their eyes can suffocate you. I might be able to lie to you, Adrian Liu said, his forehead pressed hard to my shoulder. But how could I lie to everyone? Adrian Liu, let go of me. If you don't want me to die, don't move, he murmured. The light in the room slowly dimmed. I didn't know how long passed before I felt burning heat against my shoulder. He had a fever. I laid a hand on his forehead and called softly, Adrian Liu? He murmured, I'm here, Vivi. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Then his body sagged, collapsing against me. Chapter 2. Adrian Liu fell ill. Days of exhaustion with anger gnawing at him from the inside, and the sickness hit like a landslide. The doctor examined him and prescribed medicine. Before leaving, he hesitated, then said, Miss, it's a sickness of the heart. Medicine can't cure it. That day, I sat by the bed from noon until dusk. Light and shadow traced the sharp, thin lines of Adrian's face. He had a clean, gentle kind of beauty, like a crescent autumn moon. With that sickly pallor, he looked even more pitiful. Liu residence wasn't like an old noble clan. It had no deep roots. Back then, Adrian had come to the capital city with young Luna Liu and fought his way up, step by step, on his own. A servant boy crouched by the bed, crying as if his heart were breaking. Our master carries too much. The realm is in turmoil. Everyone knows generals are worth their weight in gold. Miss Bai was afraid, so he put away his edge and willingly became a civil official. And now you still want to stab him in the heart. Miss, do you even know what the word conscience looks like when you write it? Adrian's hand twitched. He opened his eyes and said weakly, Theo Liu, get out. Silence returned to the room. He tried to sit up, but I pressed him back down. Do you want water? I'll feed you. Adrian nodded, his gaze fixed on me as if I were some rare treasure. I turned away, embarrassed. Wet your throat, then take your medicine. His body went stiff for a moment. He turned his head away, awkward. I'll drink it later. It's already cold. I lifted the bowl and stared at him for a long moment, then suddenly found it funny. Are you afraid it's bitter? He nearly snapped back on reflex. No, I'll drink it. That illness eased the tension between Adrian and me. As the weather turned cooler, Adrian requested leave from court and stayed home to recover. In another 2 months, it would be year's end. Charcoal fires were lit early in the rooms. I put on a thick padded jacket and sat by the brazier, cutting paper window decorations. Adrian looked much better, so he sat with me and cut as well. His fingers were long and nimble. At first he was clumsy. After I mocked him a few times, he got the hang of it. Soon his cuts were even finer than mine. That day, after giving the paper cuts to the servants, I said, The holidays are coming. Share them out. Put them on the windows for good luck. A few bold maids picked through them. In the end, Adrian's were taken first, all of them. He watched them leave, his eyes gentle. A faint smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. Vivi, and you call yourself the teacher. I crumpled a paper ball and threw it at him. Stop acting smug just because you won for once. The moment the words left my mouth, he caught my wrist. I wasn't ready and I fell into his solid chest. Desire lay hidden in his eyes. His voice was light and slow. Vivi, after the Lantern Festival, will you marry me? In that moment, I almost softened enough to say yes. He was good in every way. If I could, I wanted to offer him my whole heart, intact. But feelings never follow rules. If I agreed, who would I be lying to, Adrian? Or myself? Maybe I was the one who was sick. Maybe my mind had broken. I'd clung to a false memory, and in a dream I'd fallen in love with someone. I watched the light in Adrian's eyes go out, inch by inch, until only dead stillness remained. He didn't say anything. He only let me go and straightened my collar. My window cuts are this good, he said quietly. I hope I won't be rusty next year. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. You forgot? I taught you. A bright, brilliant light rose in his eyes. He smiled slowly, and it dazzled me. Okay. A few days before the holiday, it snowed. Mother had been seriously ill lately. Father told me not to return home so I wouldn't upset her. If I had time, he said, I should spend it building my relationship with Adrian. Rumors had already spread. People said the young lady of Bai Manor was desperate to marry, living in her fiancé's home every day. Improper, without a rightful name. But a few days later, the rumors were suppressed. That night, Adrian came back with frost and snow on his shoulders. As he took off his cloak, he said casually, "My Vivi, no one gets to talk about her." He laughed freely. My mood lifted with his. Adrian held his hands over the brazier to warm them. "In a few days, when the snow stops, the Emperor is going to Pinecone Mountain to hunt deer. A few years ago, I brought you snow rabbits, and you liked them. This time, I'll get you a few more to raise." I scratched my head. "No, that's not necessary." "Why?" I frowned. "They don't taste very good." Adrian's face went blank for a beat. Then he couldn't help laughing. "Vivi, they were for you to raise." That single sentence made my face burn. I turned away in a huff. "Then send whatever you want." Adrian stopped laughing and came to coax me. "If you like eating them, I'll get you some gray rabbits." On the day we went to Pinecone Mountain, the snow still hadn't melted. The mountain path was slick. Horses couldn't go up. The Emperor was in high spirits, so everyone had to follow on foot. I wore a pomegranate red padded jacket. Adrian had someone add a layer of white fox fur to my collar to ward off the cold. He held my hand as we walked. "The mountains are wide and empty. If you get separated, don't take off your coat. No matter what, I'll find you." "Okay," I replied lightly and tightened my grip on his icy fingers. His back stiffened. Then, slowly, he relaxed. Even his steps seemed lighter. "Sister-in-law," a bright, lively call. I looked over. Luna's face was red as she waved at me. Julian Shen stood beside her, as silent as ever, letting Luna tug at his sleeve as she dragged him up the mountain. His eyes swept over our joined hands, then slid away. Adrian paused. He turned to make sure I had solid footing, then started chatting with Julian. "General Shen will be heading out after the new year, right?" Julian gave a low sound of agreement. "I leave in the first month. Winter battles are hard, and you have worries here in the capital city. Take care of yourself," Adrian said with a smile. Julian's gaze grew even harder to read. After a long moment, he gave another quiet, Not long after, the chief eunuch at the Emperor's side came over and clasped his hands to Adrian. "Just now, the Emperor praised Lord Lu before the Empress. Her Majesty wishes to see you, so I've been sent to invite you." Adrian answered calmly, "I obey the decree." The eunuch's eyes slid over and he smiled. "Oh, Lady Shen is here too. Perfect. Come along as well." Adrian was basking in favor, and Luna shared that glow. It was a deliberate show of respect for the Lu family. Adrian glanced at me, hesitation in his eyes. "Your shoes and socks are wet. Don't wander off. Wait for me to come back." I soothed him. "Go. I'll wait right here." The cold wind howled. I wrapped my cloak tighter and stood under a pine tree. Snow weighed down the branches, then thumped as a clump fell. "When will Miss Bai marry?" Julian spoke flatly, breaking the quiet. People had thinned out around us. Only the team carrying luggage remained. There was too much to haul, so they'd hired a few mules to go up the mountain. "Probably after the new year," I answered, absent-minded. Julian shifted slightly, placing himself between me and the passing line. "Adrian truly cares for you." Julian always knew how to provoke my temper. What was this? Was he afraid I'd chase after him, insisting I had to marry him? I know that without you telling me. I knew my words were too sharp. I didn't care. He stopped speaking and turned to watch the mules pass. A soft, swift sound sliced through the mountain's silence. With a scream, one of the men carrying supplies was struck between the brows. He died. His body dropped into the snow with a dull thud. It happened in an instant. Then chaos exploded. Shouts and killing cries rose on all sides. "Brothers, finish this job and have a good new year." I knew it at once. Mountain bandits. Julian grabbed my wrist immediately. "Move." A rough shout came from behind. "Stop that man and woman. The most valuable things are on them." Footsteps surged close, messy and dense. My shoes and socks were soaked. Even being dragged, I couldn't run fast. At the critical moment, I yanked the gold hairpin from my bun and flung it into the distance. Gold. Anyone with eyes knew its worth. The hairpin fell into a crack between rocks. For a brief moment, it distracted the bandits. I forced myself to focus and ran after Julian. Branches lashed my skin without mercy. In a split second, the back in front of me overlapped with a memory. "Vivi, I'm hurt. I can't hold on much longer. Be good. I'll block them for you. Run forward, don't look back. Vivi, don't let me die for nothing. Miss Bai, Miss Bai. Julian's voice snapped me back. I'm here. There are too many of them. I can't win a war of attrition. Running is best, but our luck is bad. It's not cold enough yet. We might have to suffer a bit. I followed his gaze. The river hadn't frozen. In the mountain ravine, green water rushed fast. Julian turned and, without asking, started undoing my collar. I panted. Are we jumping? Yes, once the cloak is soaked, it's dead weight. Those bandits are vicious. Just now it was one strike to kill. If we don't run, we die. A sharp edge flashed in Julian's eyes. We'll repay them. No need to rush. I hesitated, then said, fine. When I pulled off the cloak, the cold clung to me like it had bones. I shook hard. Julian glanced at me and suddenly said, Miss Bai, forgive me. Then he wrapped his arms around me tightly and leapt down. Splash! Icy water poured into my nose and mouth. In my ears there was only water. I tried to hold my breath, but still choked on several gulps. Above us, rough curses continued. I fought my way to the surface, shivering violently. The current was strong. I clung to a rock and swam toward the bank. Miss Bai? Julian reached for me. I jerked away. He seized my arm instead, using more force, and dragged me toward shore. I snapped, furious. I can do it myself. Let go. Listen, that careless, soothing word didn't calm me. It only made me angrier. I struggled harder. General Shen, you're married? Do you not understand propriety between men and women? I, Vivian Bai, am not someone who clings to life in fear of death. I don't need you to hold me and jump with me. Julian suddenly turned, hoisted me onto his shoulder, and snarled through clenched teeth. Below is a rock shoal. If you don't want to smash yourself to pieces, shut up. I was nearly hysterical. Put me down, Julian Shen, you shameless. If you're dead, what's shame worth? Keep yelling and I'll throw you in to feed the fish. He was impossible, a bastard through and through. Only when he set me down on the bank did he strip off his outer garment. Without allowing refusal, he took my hand and pressed it to his left arm. Help me set it. Only then did I notice his arm hung limp, powerless, dislocated. I don't have that kind of strength. No matter. Hold steady, I'll do it myself. Julian frowned slightly. His black hair clung to his hard jaw. Water ran along the lines of his skin and down his broad chest. He bit down hard, yanked, crack, then found the angle and shoved it back. His fingers moved normally again. The first thing he did after that was come over and lift my skirt. Julian Shen! I scolded and tried to pull away, but he hooked my ankle. Head lowered, movements quick and efficient. Your leg's scraped. It's still bleeding. Don't move. He tore up his own clothes and quickly bound the wound with strips of fabric. I shivered from the cold. I was burning with anger, yet couldn't vent it. What was this exactly? He looked up at the sky and said, There'll be snow soon. If we can't find a way out before then, the two of us will freeze here. Vivi, can you stand? The moment he said it, even he froze. The name Vivi rolled off his tongue, familiar and effortless. In this place, at this time, it had happened in my dreams 1,000 times. I stared at him in silence. Then I sprang up and walked forward without looking back. Fine. Let me die here. Why torture me like this? He clearly knows me. He says Vivi so easily, yet he refuses to admit it. Julian Shen was an unforgivable bastard. Vivian Bai. Julian followed. Don't call me. I snapped as I walked. You think you're allowed to say my name? If you're married, then behave. Don't follow me. I stomped forward in a rage. Julian followed, only correcting me when I chose the wrong direction. When we left the woods, a cutting wind drove straight into our faces. Miss Bai, stop, Julian said, voice grave. It's snowing. Wind threaded through the forest, carrying snow with it. I lifted my head to the heavy, dark sky. My heart sank slowly. Once the snow sealed the mountain, we wouldn't get out. After the cold would come hunger. Nothing wears a person down like hunger and cold together. How are we supposed to endure it? General Shen, what do you suggest? Julian hacked through a thicket of thorny brush. Find somewhere to shelter. Years ago, before Pinecone Mountain was claimed as the royal hunting grounds, hunters had lived on the slopes. Now, after several years, the hunters had moved away. Only nearby bandits still roamed, burning and killing at will. Most of the houses the hunters left behind had collapsed. I stood before a ramshackle thatched hut and frowned. Julian slashed open the rusted lock with a knife, shoved the door open, and waved away dust. Seeing me still rooted in place, he said, Cold or dirty? Pick one. A foul mouth never says anything decent. He was nothing like the man in my dreams. The dream version had been gentler. The one in front of me was even more hateful. I'd twisted my ankle. Limping past him, I said coolly, "Thanks for the trouble, General Shen." A fire was lit inside, but in a house that leaked wind from every side, the flame trembled on the edge of dying. Julian sat by the doorway with his back blocking the crack, silently feeding wood into the fire. Firelight lit the side of his face. The lines were sharp as if carved by blade and chisel. People said Julian Shen was a wolf. He'd led troops in the north for years and killed more men than he'd eaten meals. I wondered whether his heart was as hard as the northern ice. I leaned against damp, cold straw and drifted to sleep. In my dream, clear, crisp hoofbeats came from a distant battlefield. That year, the northern frontier's year-end was quiet and peaceful. The door opened and frost and snow rushed in. "Vivi, I'm back." I fell into someone's arms. Cold, thick with blood, but tight too. So tight it felt like he wanted to grind me into bone. "Vivi, we won. Magnus Tai is dead. We'll have a good new year." I heard my own voice, gentle. "You got me dirty." He ruffled my hair roughly and pulled a hairpin from his chest. It was silver, stained with blood. "Your man nearly died at Magnus Tai's hands for this hairpin. What's wrong with holding you for a while? Then wipe it clean and put it on me." "Spoiled." "Vivian, bye." I murmured, half asleep, and opened my eyes. Julian's face was close. His hand covered my forehead. His expression was severe. "You're burning up." I came to my senses. I realized I'd been dreaming again. The turbulent emotions inside me settled into dead silence. I brushed his hand away coldly. "How many times have I been sick? Do you have to talk like you're stabbing people?" "I'm telling the truth. If you knew what I just dreamed, you'd avoid me too." "What did you dream?" "I dreamed Magnus Tai died." After a long silence, Julian shook his head and gave a quiet laugh. "Miss Bai isn't only rude to me. You're rude to the enemies of our dynasty too. If those barbarians knew you cursed their Khan to die even in your dreams, they'd probably ride straight into the capital city and drag you away." I stared at the fire he'd rekindled and smiled faintly. "Yes, he's living just fine. I'm the sick one." What northern frontier? What victory report? And what Julian Shen holding a blood-stained silver hairpin, still warm in his hand? "General Shen, I was rude earlier, sorry." Julian looked at me in surprise. Then he lowered his eyes and added more fuel to the fire. "It'll be cold tonight. After the snow melts tomorrow, it'll be even colder. Be ready." On the third day trapped there, I collapsed with illness. Scalding heat and bone-deep cold took turns tormenting me. I stayed alive only because Julian found food each day. He lifted me from the ground into his lap and, with practiced ease, poured water into my mouth. I opened my eyes weakly, forcing words through my cracked throat. "Stop worrying about me. Save the food. Hold out until the snow melts." "Vivian Bai, you're young. Where did you pick up this gloom? Stay alive." He didn't stop. He kept pouring. I choked. Blood surged from my mouth. I smiled. "Look, I don't know why, but it feels like I won't live long. Are you bad luck for me?" It was meant as a joke. But when Julian heard it, his face darkened terribly. After feeding me a little more water, he suddenly said, "Then I'll stay farther from you." He piled all the clothes over me. Then he truly sat far away, wearing only his underrobe, using his back to block the crack in the door. In the bitterest part of winter, with his hands and face exposed, he'd freeze into solid lumps in no time. He was fighting wind and frost through a thin layer of cloth. There was no way he wouldn't freeze to death. "Come sit closer," I said. I couldn't bear to watch him freeze. "No need." "You're stubborn as a mule, General Shen." "Same to you." Time slipped by. My fever burned my thoughts into haze. I could no longer tell dreams from reality. Sometimes I would grab Julian's hand and ramble on and on. Then I would see his calm, water-still face and realize I'd mistaken him. He didn't know any of what I said. He only cared for me as a sick person. "Vivi, don't cry. I love you. I've always loved you." I opened my eyes slowly. My lips moved, my voice thin as smoke. "What did you just say?" Julian didn't move. I didn't say anything. My gaze drifted. With sudden understanding, I whispered, "Ah! The one from my dreams is calling me. I have to go with him." Someone clamped my wrist. The pain jolted me awake. Julian said harshly, "The snow has mostly melted today. Tomorrow we go back. If the King of Hell wants to take you, he'll have to ask whether I agree." For the first time in a while, I managed to focus. Julian's face looked paler than usual. Where his black hair hit his skin, there was a patch of dried blood, darkened. "When were you hurt?" I asked. "The day we jumped down, he must have been attacked from behind. He refused to show his back, probably because of that. Not your concern. Take care of yourself." The last flame died. Darkness swallowed the room. With Julian's skill, finding dry wood should have been easy. But he let the fire go out. There was only one reason. His injuries were too severe. He couldn't move. Cold sank into the marrow. He and I sat in opposite corners, facing each other in the dark without a sound. "General Shen, it must feel unfair, dying here," Julian said evenly. "Being buried with you isn't so bad. You're not afraid I'll crawl out of the grave at night and keep you from resting?" In the darkness, his breathing grew faint. He didn't answer. I raised my voice sharply. "Julian Shen." I forced myself up and crawled over. I checked his breath. That shadow in the dark said, "I'm not dead yet." From his voice, he was close. Wind knifed in from every direction. The thick snow at the door melted into water and soaked our clothes. I kept forcing myself to stay awake, talking to him nonstop. "Hold me," Julian said slowly in the dead silence. "Just once." I froze. In the end, I only unwrapped the clothes from my own body and covered Julian with them. "Even if you die, Luna will be the one to collect your body. It won't be me holding you." Julian gave a short, self-mocking laugh. "Right, I brought it on myself." The night stretched endlessly. Neither of us fared better than the other. Hunger and cold finally defeated us. Silence became a beast, opening its bloody jaws and swallowing every hope of living. But ever since I woke after tumbling off that cliff, I wasn't afraid of death. I even felt a strange familiarity with it, a longing. When darkness came,
Is Miss Bai's medicine
I felt
ready?
unbelievably light.
Yes.
The master just got out of prison and is rushing back. Give it to Miss Bai quickly, or she'll lose her temper again. My mind woke first. My body felt heavy, my eyelids refusing to open. I could only listen. After a brief flurry of movement, a few young maids said fearfully, "Master." A cold gust slipped into the room, then quickly died. Someone stood off to the side, removing an outer garment. After a pause, he came over. A warm palm, still holding the heat of the charcoal brazier, pressed to my forehead. A gentle, clean voice said, "She still hasn't woken today?" "Not yet." I didn't like his scent. There was a faint trace of blood on him, the kind that made me think of damp, shadowed cells and instruments slick with gore. I frowned. Then his tone sharpened. "Vivi, you're awake?" As if my body snapped back into place, I forced my eyes open. Adrian was crouched beside the bed, watching me with deep worry. In his dark eyes, light slowly returned. "I came back?" My voice was hoarse, but he was close enough to hear. He gripped my hand. "I saw your cloak in the woods. I nearly scared myself to death." I wanted to ask about Julian Shen, but when I met Adrian's gaze, I hesitated. He seemed to know what I was thinking. "General Shen was lightly injured, he's fine." It wasn't fair to Adrian. "Adrian, this marriage, I won't call it off." Adrian cut me off, his face turning cold. "Like whoever you want. I won't call off the marriage. It's not worth it. I know exactly what I'm doing. How much I give and how much I get back. I won't count it, weigh it, or obsess over it. Isn't that enough?" Adrian held my hand so tightly it hurt. "It's been so many years, Vivi. The last time you fell off that cliff, you fell in love with. I accepted it. I forced myself to accept it, teeth clenched. This time, don't stab me again. I'm begging you. It has nothing to do with Julian Shen. I just don't want to marry anymore." "If you don't want to marry, I'll keep you. Whoever dares talk, I'll kill them." It was the first time I'd seen obsession in Adrian's eyes. Behind his mild look lurked a darkness that could swallow someone whole. I closed my eyes and stopped talking. After we returned from Pinecone Mountain, I often feared the cold. Even with a roaring stove indoors, it didn't help. Adrian didn't argue with me, but I knew he wouldn't allow me to go back to Bai Manor. It just so happened my parents didn't want me back either. That morning, he sat by the bed, warming my hands between his palms before tucking them back under the quilt. "It's sunny today. You can go for a walk. I'll have Theo go with you." Okay. By noon, Theo was nowhere to be found. After asking around, I learned he was in the kitchen. I went to find him. Reluctantly, he said, "When our master gets busy, he won't eat. Now that I'm with you, there's no one to keep an eye on him." So I told the servants to send him a portion. Whether he eats it depends on fate. Then his gaze flicked to me and he added, I heard those bandits are stubborn. If they won't talk, they don't get a moment's rest. The master is really going all out for Miss Bai. I sighed silently. I'll take it myself. Only then did Theo's expression ease. A moment later, the carriage stopped at the entrance to the prison office. The soldiers tried to stop me, but Theo held them back and produced a token. We're on the same side. The two guards at the door hesitated. Lord Liu, bringing a young lady in isn't appropriate. She is our master's woman, and also the victim she should see. Yes, coiled chains were unlocked. A damp, cold stench rolled toward us. A maid took my arm. Miss, let me carry it in. You're weak. No need. At Liu residence, I was living off others. My parents had handed me over to Adrian like a stray cat or dog. I'd long since lost the right to resist. Why pretend to have dignity now? The prison was dim. Candlelight trembled. At one fork in the passage, I turned without thinking. Theo asked, Miss Bai has been here before? The corridor was so dark the light barely reached, and the layout was confusing. I froze. No, I haven't. As we passed a deep, narrow passage, I suddenly stopped and looked into it. Miss Bai, don't be curious. Inside are the court's major criminals. Some took bribes and embezzled. Some betrayed the country. Many nobles and high officials have died in there. As he spoke, something tightened around my heart, tugging with each beat. Faint voices drifted from ahead. Did he confess? Reporting to you, sir, no. Continue. He's almost dead. I said continue. Adrian's drawn-out, unhurried voice held not a trace of warmth. The candlelight ahead drew nearer. The moment I saw what lay before us, the maid let out a horrific scream and crumpled to the floor. The figure strapped to the torture frame could no longer be called human. She spun around, clutched the railing, and vomited. In the next instant, a blood-scented shadow blocked my view. A large hand covered my eyes. His voice was fury on the verge of breaking. Theo, are you trying to die? My body swayed. I couldn't get a single word out. My vision was filled with bloody afterimages. Master, I didn't expect. Go take your punishment. Adrian's voice turned icy, his killing intent undisguised. If anything happens to her, bring your head to me. I stood there blankly, still holding the food box. Adrian pulled me tightly against him, murmuring low, terrified I'd been frightened. Vivi, don't be afraid. I'm not like that. Can you forget it, please? I opened my mouth, swallowing back the nausea rising in my throat. I brought you food. Okay, I'll eat, he agreed immediately. He led me back to the Imperial Prison Bureau and set the box on the table. But he still wouldn't let go of me. His palm was damp with sweat from the strain. I closed my eyes for a beat. My voice came out light, almost drifting. I'm going back. Adrian nodded. I'll take you. No, I can manage. Adrian's fingers tightened. Vivi, let go. My words came out sharp. My whole body shook. Too many images surged up at once, crushing the air from my lungs. I seemed to remember something. The same cells, the same instruments, the same Adrian, drenched in blood, like a demon, and two other corpses, soaked red. Logan. Ethan. It was the first time I'd remembered those two names, and yet they felt as familiar as family.